Life after death, where do we go after we die, and what happens in the afterlife? Video 1. The innumerable recorded and researched cases of past life experiences clearly point to life after death. Various institutions have performed research about the afterlife, near-death experiences, or about consciousness after death, finding proof that life continues after death. There have been many cases of near-death experiences where people have had an encounter with the afterlife, such as seeing the light or meeting their loved ones who passed away. In all the recorded cases of reincarnations, it was also found that after death and before next birth on Earth, there was a variable time lag. So, where do we go after death till our reincarnation on Earth? What is life like in the afterlife? Is there a single plane of existence, or are there a variety of planes of existence? If so, what are the factors that decide where we go after death? In this article, we present the answers to these and other questions about life after death. These answers are obtained through spiritual research done by seekers of the Spiritual Science Research Foundation (SSRF) with highly developed sixth sense (ESP). Table of Contents. Show 1. What happens after death? Spiritual research has shown that man is comprised of the following four basic bodies: physical, mental, causal or intellectual, supracausal or subtle ego. The picture below is a diagrammatic representation of what a human being is comprised of. When a person dies, the physical body ceases to exist. However, the rest of the existence or consciousness continues. The existence of the person minus the physical body is known as the subtle body, linga deha, and it comprises of the mental, causal, intellect, and supracausal, subtle ego, bodies. In the afterlife, this subtle body then goes to one of the 13 subtle planes of existence other than the earth plane. 2. Where we go after death, 14 planes of existence in the universe. There are 14 main planes of existence in the universe. 7 of them are positive and 7 are negative. The 7 negative planes are commonly known as hell, patal. There are numerous sub-planes within these main planes. According to an evolved Saint Adi Shankaracharya from India 8th–9th century AD, righteousness, dharma, is that which accomplishes the 3 tasks of 1. Keeping the social system in excellent condition. 2. Bringing about the worldly progress of every living being. 3. Causing progress in the spiritual realm as well. Sri Adi Shankaracharya. 7 positive planes of existence, occupied mostly by living persons and subtle bodies after death doing righteous deeds and engaged in spiritual practice according to the positive path of spiritual practice. They are also known as the 7 positive regions or saptalic. By positive path, we mean the orientation of spiritual practice is towards God realization, which is the ultimate in spiritual growth. The earth plane is the only physical plane of existence in the universe and is also the first one in the hierarchy of the positive planes in the universe. 7 negative planes of existence, these are occupied mostly by subtle bodies after death that have done unrighteous deeds and are engaged in spiritual practice according to the negative path. By negative path, we mean the orientation of spiritual practice is towards attaining spiritual power, e.g. supernatural powers. This spiritual power is primarily used to enhance one's control over others or for negative purposes. Thus all subtle bodies that go to any one of the planes of existence of hell, by virtue of their evil intentions, become ghosts. Refer to the article on What is a Ghost? Sub-planes of hell, Narak. Every region of hell has a sub-plane known as Narak. For example, the first level of hell will have within it a sub-plane that is known as the first Narak. Narak is reserved for the worst ghosts, demons, devils, negative energies, etc. in hell. The ghosts occupying the first Narak face more severe punishment and for a longer duration than those occupying the first level of hell. The diagram below shows the 14 planes of existence in the universe. Life continues after death either in positive or in negative planes of existence. Please note 1. For the sake of simplicity, though we have shown the planes of existence one on top of the other in this diagram, in reality they are around us in all directions. It's just that Earth being the physically tangible plane is seen, whereas the other planes are progressively more and more subtle and hence invisible to the gross eye. In fact, different people, though living on the Earth plane, experience thoughts and emotions corresponding to the different planes as per their spiritual level or thoughts. For example, saints, i.e. spiritually evolved people beyond the 70% spiritual level, lead an existence corresponding to the positive planes of existence of heaven and beyond. In contrast, a person planning theft experiences thoughts corresponding to the first plane of hell, one planning some act aimed at harming others at the second plane of hell, and so on. A person planning murder experiences thoughts corresponding to the seventh plane of hell. However, number two planes can be experienced simultaneously, i.e. a person cannot experience thoughts corresponding to two different planes, e.g. heaven and Mahalok. 2. The nether region, Bhuvalok to be precise, is a region that is aligned away from God. We have however depicted it as a positive plane, as after death, the subtle bodies from this region still have a chance to be born on earth to progress spiritually. Once subtle bodies regress to any of the regions of hell, then there is a remote possibility of their being born on earth and progressing towards God. An explanation behind the color scheme used: Earth is depicted reddish as it represents action, i.e. subtle basic Raja component, as it is the only plane where we have the physical body to do something. Heaven has been depicted in pink, which represents an abundance of happiness. Yellow represents spiritual knowledge and an increase in the subtle basic sattva component. It finally becomes almost white at the highest stage, which represents the close proximity to the unmanifest God principle. The regions of hell are represented by darker shades to black, as there is an increase in the subtle basic Tama component. For more information about Sattva, Raja and Tama, please see section 6 below 3. Life after death in heaven and other positive regions in the universe. Footnotes based on the numbers in red in the above table. 1. Each positive and negative plane of existence beyond the earth, physical region becomes more and more subtle. By subtle, we mean that which is beyond the comprehension of the five senses, mind and intellect. Satyalok is the subtlest positive plane, and therefore is the most difficult to perceive or comprehend unless the highest sixth sense (ESP) level is attained. 2. Due to lack of spiritual practice and a higher proportion of demerits, sins, most people in the current era go to either the nether world or one of the planes of existence of hell in their life after death. We generally go to the nether world after death when the proportion of demerits incurred due to wrongdoings on earth is approximately 30%. Demerits typically include malice towards others and a lot of desires. In the afterlife, the likelihood of being attacked in the nether world by higher level ghosts from the lower plane of existence of hell is almost certain. 3. Earth is the only plane where there is an amalgamation of people with varying spiritual levels. However, in afterlife, we go to the precise subtle region corresponding to our spiritual level. 4. The minimum spiritual level required to attain heaven in life after death is 40%. Please refer to the article, which describes what spiritual level is and the breakdown of the world population in 2016 according to spiritual level. This breakdown is valid up until the coming World War III. Basically, from the spiritual science perspective, meritorious acts to attain heaven or the higher positive planes of existence in afterlife are those acts done without expectation with the objective of God realization. The following three criteria can be applied in life after death: acts done without doership, i.e., with the outlook that God Himself is getting it done from me and hence I cannot lay claim to any credit. Done without expectation of acclaim or appreciation. Done without expectation of results. More than the acts per se, it is the attitude or outlook behind the acts that counts more. It is important to note that subtle bodies in their life after death at the borderline of just 40% and thereabouts often get pulled back by negative energies and hence remain in the netherworld Bhuvalok. 5. To attain a higher plane of existence in the afterlife that is beyond heaven in the afterlife, one needs to be at a spiritual level higher than 60%. This can only be achieved by consistent spiritual practice according to the 6 basic laws of spiritual practice, along with a major reduction in ego. 6. By predominant body, we mean the body that is most active, i.e., mental, intellect, or the subtle ego. For example, in the nether region, Bhuvalok, the subtle bodies still have a lot of desires and attachments. As a result, quite often they become ghosts trying to fulfill some desire of theirs through their descendants or people on earth. This leaves them open to higher-level negative energies from the lower regions of hell, who take advantage of their cravings so as to affect people on earth. 7. In the netherworld, subtle bodies experience only unhappiness as desires cannot be fulfilled. 8. In heaven, subtle bodies experience an overabundance of happiness. This happiness is much beyond the happiness experienced on earth in quantity, quality and duration. As we go up the positive planes, there is an increase in the quality of happiness and no unhappiness. 9. Sattvic happiness means happiness derived from helping others without any expectations or strings attached. When ego is involved in the act, it becomes rajasic. 10. Serenity is a higher spiritual experience than bliss. 3.1 Life after death in positive planes of existence and reincarnation on earth after death. From the subtle planes below Mahalok, people need to be reincarnated on the earth plane in order to settle their destiny and complete their give and take accounts. If after death one attains higher regions such as Mahalok or Janalok due to higher spiritual level, one does not need to be reincarnated, as all of the individual's remaining destiny accumulated account can be worked out from these planes themselves. However, these evolved subtle bodies in their life after death may choose to be born of their own will. They do so because of their expansive nature, primarily to act as spiritual guides for humanity and to help society grow spiritually. In some circumstances, people even below the spiritual level of 60% can attain Mahalok. Here the person's potential for further spiritual growth in the afterlife is considered. Through spiritual research we have found that there are 5 factors that influence this potential for further spiritual growth. Having a high amount of spiritual emotion, bhav, having a low ego, having an intense desire for spiritual growth, doing regular spiritual practice of increasingly higher levels, affected or not affected by negative energies. Being affected, possessed by negative energies can severely obstruct the ability for spiritual growth. In the afterlife, such affected subtle bodies, even if they are at a spiritual level of 60%, can be obstructed from reaching the higher subtle regions of the universe by negative energies. 3.2 The importance of the earth plane. The earth is very important. It is the only region where we can make rapid spiritual growth and settle our give and take account in the shortest period of time. The main reason for this is that with the help of the physical body, we can do many things to enhance our spiritual growth and spiritual level and reduce the basic subtle karma component. Other than earth, spiritual growth after death is mostly likely to occur only in the regions beyond heaven such as Mahalok, etc. This is because after death in heaven, the subtle bodies run the risk of getting caught up in the unending pleasures it offers. The punishment in life after death in the nether and hell regions is so severe, and also the distress from the other higher level ghosts is such that it becomes very difficult to rise above the suffering to undertake any spiritual practice of value. 4. Afterlife in the negative regions. Who goes to hell after death, and what is hell like? As one goes to lower planes of existence of hell, the subtle basic sattva component progressively reduces, the environment becomes less conducive to the experience of happiness. Within hell, there are some ghosts who do certain types of spiritual practice to gain spiritual power. The highest in the hierarchy of ghosts are sorcerers from the 7th region of hell. They have immense spiritual power, almost equivalent to a saint at the 90% spiritual level. They control all the other types of ghosts with lesser spiritual power. As one goes deeper into the various regions of hell, i.e. from 1st to 7th, the extent of happiness experienced by the subtle bodies therein goes on decreasing, and the extent of unhappiness goes on multiplying. The minimal experience of happiness is also due to being engrossed in memories of past positive events, pleasant memories of wealth in a past life, etc. The experience of unhappiness is due to memories of physical pain and insulting events, memories of unfulfilled desires, e.g. regarding education, house, career, expectation of happiness from children in past life. The extent of punishment, pain to be endured in hell and their associated narak goes on increasing with the subsequent plane. Also, the period of punishment to be endured in each narak is in excess compared to the corresponding plane of existence of hell. If we consider the punishment in first level of hell as 100%, then the punishment in the corresponding first narak region is 50% more, i.e. 150%. The following table is a description of examples along with the average intensity of happiness and unhappiness we experience in the various planes of existence of hell.